crucial legislations needed to facilitate the historic goods and services tax. Shireen Bhan caught up with the CBEC chairman Najib Shah and began by asking him whether the July 1st timeline was realistic and advisable given the lack of time available to make that crucial transition. Listen in.
Well, the laws now are in the public domain. Hopefully the rules will also get firmed up in the next meeting of the council, which is tomorrow. So what it means is that all the business processes and the rules and the laws are available to the trade. So that, I think, is essential for them to start their preparations if they've not already done so. The rates, I don't think, are so much essential for them to start the preparations for meeting the GST deadline. So yes, I think 1st July, like the FM has mentioned, is a target which is very, very optimistic.
Okay, so 1st July, you're saying is a target is very optimistic. What could be the stumbling block? What could come in the way of being able to achieve the 1st of July timeline, sir?
From the government side, I don't think there are any stumbling blocks. We are rearing to go. Everything is falling in place as we have planned out. The industry now will have to join us in this entire exercise of ensuring that they too are ready to launch the GST.
But industry is representing to you saying that push 1st of July to perhaps the 1st of September?
There have been some requests from some quarters, but I think those are calls the government will take slowly. But we do believe 1st July should be a date in which we should start going on the GST road.
Okay, so you're sticking with the 1st of July, government is fully prepared. Let me then ask you about specifics, sir. And let me start by asking you about the rate fitment exercise, because that's the big thing that everybody is waiting for. There is a council meeting on the 31st, which will finalize the rules. So you expect the rules to be finalized on the 31st, sir?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We do expect the rules to get finalized. Remember, 5 rules have already been finalized by the council earlier, and what we're going back to the council is with the requests which have been received from the trade over a period of time, incorporating those changes wherever required, and to inform the council of these changes and getting their consent. The other rules which are going to are again essential rules for the transition process, and those rules we are hoping that the council will affirm and give its seal.
On the transition process, and that's where industry is seeking clarification from you, and I would imagine that that will happen post the council's meeting. But what is going to be the treatment as far as the unsold inventory is concerned? Can you shed some light on what the thinking is at this point in time and what direction we could take?
The concerns of the trade really are relating to how the credit itself will move on those unsold inventories. The transition provisions as they stand today cater to that requirement. The rules also are going to be finalized by tomorrow's meeting, and that again should address the concerns of the industry. So I don't think there should be serious issues there. What
is the mechanism that you're working with?
The mechanism is basically that the credits do not get blocked. So that's what we're trying to address and ensure.
Okay. As far as the rates themselves are concerned, sir, you know, you've said this, the finance minister said this, that it will be the closest slab to where the product or the service currently finds itself in. So one would imagine that we're really expecting a status quo on most rates across most categories.
I would not like to second guess, but yes, I suppose that will be a reasonable assumption to make at this point of time. But the committee will be looking at each of the commodities and then firming up the rates itself, and then requesting the council to examine it and give its, again, seal of approval.
But given the revenue loss considerations, would it be fair to assume that we're not really going to see, you know, if something is currently closer to 18, not too many products will move to the 12 bracket?
It's a reasonable assumption again.
It is a reasonable assumption. So you don't expect too many products which are currently in the 18 or higher bracket to move to a lower bracket?
I would not like to second guess. I mean, you must appreciate the fact that what we will be doing is trying to look at the current VAT and the current central excise service tax rates. So there could be situations where there may be some downward revision too, because of the flow of credit itself which will happen. So I think we should just be a little more patient and wait for this committee's reports to come out.
When are we going to expect the report of the committees?
I would assume again that April will be the month when the fitment committees will really be working at full speed, and their reports should start coming in by that time.
So when do you expect complete finalization on rates? Will that be closer to May then, if you're saying that the recommendations of the fitment committee will be available in April?
I only have to say that Let us give them the time. The challenge is enormous. The number of commodities they're looking at are huge. So I would not like to second guess anything here, except to say that yes, we are very concerned, we are very seized of the matter, and teams are working.
Okay, let me then ask you about specifics. There are specific concerns pertaining to several industries, gems and jewelry, oil and gas, and the government has set up these working groups to look into industry-specific concerns. But the view is that since the rules are going to be finalized on the meeting of the 31st of March, what then happens to the industry-specific concerns and how do they get incorporated into the rules themselves?
I think there sufficient flexibility has been provided for in the law as it stands today. And while industry-specific concerns are being examined specifically to address and try and address those concerns and find solution, and as you rightly pointed out, the rules are also getting finalized simultaneously, but flexibility is being provided for to address some specific concern if it is a matter of such great import.
So how will these concerns then be incorporated, sir, as we go along towards the rollout?
The council will have full flexibility to do that.
Okay, you're saying the council will have full flexibility. One of the key concerns, sir, is this business of single registration or centralized registration. The finance minister in parliament yesterday said, we're trying to get states on board. They haven't come on board yet. Do you feel confident of being able to get the states on board to move towards a single or a centralized registration scheme when it comes to banking financial services?
There are several sectors which have been requesting and demanding this centralized registration. These are all sectors which have pan-India presence, and these are all sectors which in the current service tax regime are having and enjoying a single registration. Obviously in the GST, with multiple states having come into play, there is this concern of the states that registration should be state-wise. Now, we have had several rounds of discussions in the council on this particular issue, and the council will take a final call again on this if the concerns of the trade and industry are going to be so serious.
But these concerns are serious, sir. The finance minister yesterday spoke of clause 148 as perhaps being the window that the council may like to exercise to try and resolve this issue. Is there hope on this front?
Like I mentioned earlier, flexibility has been provided in the various provisions of the law. The flexibility merely suggests that, look, in certain circumstances, the council can prescribe a certain different regime. So assuming, for instance, registration has to be state-wise, and assuming then we have some sectors which have a problem in doing this state-wise registration, the council can examine and recommend that in certain sectors, in certain circumstances, that registration need not be state-wise. But that's a call the council will take.
And at this point in time, you're saying that the council has not paid heed to the demand that is coming from the industry.
Not found sufficient justification.
Not found sufficient justification.
I would like to say that, not rather than say not pay heed.
One of the other concerns is to do with this anti-profiteering clause that has been part of the GST bill and how this is actually going to work. The finance minister in his reply in parliament says that the effort is going to be to ensure that there is no unfair or unjust enrichment. But in a free market environment, how is this going to work?
You see, again, too much of noise has been made about this particular clause, in my opinion. All that this clause provides for is that profiteering should not happen in a situation where the cascading effect of taxes have been done away with. Having said that, the provision again only provides for the government to, at some point of time, review the position and, if necessary and need be, think of a mechanism to address this concern. So it is not as if anti-profiteering is going to be there from day one.
It is not going to be there from day one.
It is there in the law, and the government will have to put in place some mechanism to address this issue of anti-profiteering.